Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The first order of business is to move, motion to convene into executive session.
Make a motion to convene into executive session to approve the executive session minutes for August 6, 2024. Review and approval of matters which relate to the privacy of students and their records pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42465A8, homeschool requests. To approve executive session minutes for August 27, 2024. Review and or approve matters which relate to privacy of students and their records pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42465A8, hearing, potential litigation pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42465A2, to review and or approve matters which relate to the privacy of students and their records pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42465A8, homeschool requests, and potential litigation pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws 42465A2.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the I'd like to call the meeting to order, and the first order of business is to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The consent agenda is the next item on the next item to be discussed and voted on. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda to include the regular session minutes for July 9th, 2024 and July 23rd, 2024. General fund bills in the amount of $313,605.53. Grant fund bills in the amount of $20,492.79. Northwest special education bills in the amount of $210.12. School food service funds in the amount of $24,856.84. And scholarship fund in the amount of $78,155 even.
Do I have a second?
What am I reading? The wrong one? Yeah.
That's last.
Here. Yeah. Give it this one. That sounded good, didn't it?
Why is that?
What? Cross that. Delete. Delete. All right, so I have it right here. I make a motion to approve the consent agenda, including minutes for the August 6th meeting and the August 27th meeting. Bills, I should have noticed that by the dates. Glad you were here to have bills in the amount, general fund bills in the amount of $514,192.13. Grant fund bills in the amount of $84,314.03. Northwest special education in the amount of $1,148.09.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to open up to people here and the people at home of the meeting to public comment. Anyone that would like to make a public comment, please come up to the microphone. Please state your name and your address. And then you again can either ask your questions or make a comment. Anybody here tonight that's in the room? And Chris, could you please check and see if there's anyone at home?
Hi, Brendan Wachowski, 294 Quaker Lane. I have a comment on the one item in the on the agenda for the graduation requirements. Should I wait until then?
Yes, you can hold that and be part of the conversation there. Anyone else that would like to come up and make a public comment? No one at home? Okay, going once, twice. Okay, thank you. The next thing on the agenda is the recognition of Teacher of the Year. And so I'm going to turn this over to our school superintendent.
So this is an opportunity for the school committee to recognize Situate's Teacher of the Year. Our teacher of the year this year is Mr. John Dunn. We are very proud. The school community did recognize John at our convocation ceremony, and his family came, and that was lovely. But this gives the school committee an opportunity to recognize John and congratulate him. I know that he will serve us well and represent Scituate proudly at all of the state meetings and opportunities that happen. And in traditional Scituate style, we have our cupcake celebration.
I'd
So
like you to come on up to, if you don't mind, if you could come on up to the microphone and just talk to us a little bit about about yourself and.
Bring the whole family up, John. Bring them up. Bring them- Come up.
Yes, put them up, get a picture and put them on the website.
It's just us.
Do you want me to state my address for the?
No, not at all.
Double what? Thanks for the pressure, Teddy. I'm John Dunn. I've been teaching here this is my 14th year in Scituate. Machowski was a student of mine, which is why he shows up here all the time. So you can thank me for that in your own special way later. I don't know. What else would you like me to say?
I just would like to thank you, actually. I mean, I was talking to someone, I'm on the board of another school, and we were just talking about how critical it is to get and the impact one teacher can have in a classroom. And for you to not only have an impact, but then be voted on by your peers to be the best of the best is just truly wonderful. And I'm so glad that Situate has you. I appreciate all you do for our children.
Oh, thank you.
Keep doing.
I
I'll
said to the
try.
superintendent after convocation, I did not know that you were such a comedian.
Oh, wow. That's how I got my job here.
Is he like that at home? I want to know
Yeah.
from.
Oh yeah, he makes a lot of dad jokes.
Do you have any examples you can think of?
Oh, God.
If anything comes to mind. Anything?
I'm afraid to tell you.
Yeah.
I want to tell you a joke.
Okay.
Keep it appropriate.
Joke, but I'm afraid. I want to tell you a joke about pizza, but I'm afraid it's a little too cheesy.
That's a John Dunn special right there.
That's me.
So I'm gonna ask a question and maybe I'm confused. How old are your children?
Teddy is 9, Amelia is 4.
Was there ever a time when there were 2 members of your household teaching in this school?
Yeah, my wife taught here. So when Jill Fig was out on her medical leave in what did we say, 2012?
Just talking
You
about
were-
it in the car. It was the year we were married, so 2012, the 12-13 school year.
Yeah.
You were, I think Evan. It was either Evan. I have 2 older boys that were I think they had both of you the same year. Would that have been possible?
Yes, because we were both on the Explorer team.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm like, that was, and you were at the time, were you pregnant with,
No, not yet.
by the time you left?
No.
No? Okay. So imagine that, husband and wife teaching together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you to your Thank you for all you do, John. You're
thank you.
a tremendous asset.
You're cheesing, I get it.
I worked here a number of years with John, and going into the middle school entryway, you were always in the hallway. You were always pleasant. The kids loved you. All the students told me that you were an outstanding teacher, and they love to have you. And I wish you the best. I mean,
Thank
keep
you.
hard work and congratulations.
I have
Thank
to
you.
say, I've said this before in here, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. You couldn't pay me enough to be a middle school teacher. I think, and I love middle schoolers, no offense to any of them, and to the teachers that do it. I think that is one of the most challenging populations to teach is middle school. So those of you that do it and do it well, kudos to you, because we need you all. Are you still teaching?
Yeah.
Oh, middle school?
Middle school.
Middle school.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you to your family for allowing, for sharing him with us, right? We're glad to have you here. Remember, you too can be a Spartan. Where's Mr. Hassel? Mr. Hassel, get the promo material going.
He's got more stickers.
Yeah.
The house is filled with these stickers.
So thank you. And we have cupcakes. So everyone has to have a cupcake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cupcake.
of course, we've got a cupcake.
Thank
baby.
you again.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Everybody here as well.
Yes, everybody here that would like a refreshment, or a treat, come on up, please. Take a couple home.
Yeah.
If you don't want to eat them now, take a couple home in a plate. I'm going to move us along. I'm going to, while
And
everyone.
to the Dunn family, directly from this committee, you are free to leave at any time. We appreciate, not that we don't want you to join us. You're more than welcome to stay. I know. But the kids, I figured I figured you and your wife might want that for a date night, but the kids, you have them with you. So Please.
I'm gonna ask the superintendent to move forward with her agenda item and superintendent's report, employee update and opening of schools.
You have the employee updates in your packet. You'll see the groundskeeper, John Marsland. We just interviewed him today. So that is a brand new hire of about, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. So I asked Patty to squeeze him on the agenda. Yeah, we're very lucky to get him. So at some point in the future, I will bring him forward so that the committee can meet him. But he's getting his background check done this afternoon and we'll get him to work. The first day of school for students was August 28th, 2024, and I'm pleased to report that the start of the school year was smooth and successful across all of our schools. Our faculty and staff welcomed students back with enthusiasm, and we saw a high level of engagement and excitement amongst the students. Transportation ran efficiently with some minor delays that were quickly resolved. Jason and I met with first student prior to the opening of schools, and we have another meeting scheduled this week. Now that we've had a few days in to talk about any issues that may have arisen with transportation and iron those out. I visited several schools, all schools, as a matter of fact, on opening day, and it was clear that the preparations made by the administrators, the teachers, and the support staff all paid off. There was a positive atmosphere. It was kind of a buzz in the buildings and learning. The halls of the high school and the middle school were very quiet those first 3 days. I know, Michael, I'm afraid to say it. The middle school is using Smart Pass, which is an electronic pass system, and it's been very successful. The high school will be implementing that system within a few weeks. The system allows the administrators to track students where they are, how often they're leaving classrooms. It regulates the number of students that are in the lavatories at any one time so that we can regulate the flow and numbers for kids. Completion of building projects. As most of you who entered the building today saw the completion of the high school walkway. It'll be nice the first day it rains not to have buckets in that hallway. So those renovations have gone well. We continue to work on the fire alarm systems at North Scituate and the middle and high school. We have been cleared by the fire marshal for facility use as the old systems continue to be operational. Homeschool students and the openings of school as of September 2024. We have 66 students registered. Those come from some families that have multiples. We are waiting on 11 families to submit their requests for approval for this year. We have reached out twice. We will send another communication to those remaining families. Our district remains committed to supporting those homeschooling families by providing access to resources, curriculum guidance, and opportunities for the homeschool students to participate in extracurricular activities. We continue to maintain strong communication with these families to ensure that they have the support they need for a successful educational experience. I'm pleased to report that we have successfully filled a majority of our staffing vacancies now that we've secured a groundskeeper. We have welcomed our new teachers with a new teacher orientation day on Monday, August 25th. It was a successful day for those new staff. And we are excited that the new hires bring a wealth of experience and enthusiasm to our schools. In conclusion, the 24-25 school year is off to a strong start. I'm grateful to the staff, families, and community partners for their ongoing support and the dedication to our student success. And I look forward to continuing to work together to ensure a productive and fulfilling school year.
Any questions for the superintendent?
No, Lori, I just want to go back to the 66 homeschooled.
Yes.
And we discussed before, that's status quo pretty much for our numbers. And I know a lot of us were surprised, or I was surprised a few years ago to realize, but it's been roughly about that for several years.
Yeah, that is a pretty standard
Yeah.
number. It's actually a little bit lower.
Okay.
It had been mid to upper seventies.
Yeah.
When I first came here, so it's dropped a little bit.
To pre-COVID levels of
Yes.
homeschoolers?
Yes.
But even pre-COVID was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's low.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Just wanted
think when
to-
it bleeped up, it was because of COVID.
I know, Lori, in regards to the groundskeeper, we did speak about like a flex schedule. So they would work spring and fall, 7 to 3 or something like that. I know winter, they have to be here at 6 in the morning,
Yes.
but I wasn't sure if they were gonna do that.
We discussed those flex hours with John today when we were interviewing him, that we really need those hours to be flexible based on the season, what sport is going on. Clearly in the winter around snow removal, it looks different, and he's very amenable to that.
Um. Thank you, Lori. Is that it for all questions for our superintendent? Okay. Next on the agenda is the Director of Finance report. We're going to get an update on the audit.
The auditor will be in-house Monday through Wednesday, the week of the 16th, to begin an in-person review of grants and trial balances by funds. We'll usually look to match invoices and purchase orders in the fund of choice to ensure we are documenting each item appropriately. He will also look to match the appropriate UCOA to the type of service or purchase that was obtained. He has already confirmed beginning balances to our prior year's audit, reviewed our reconciliation process with the town, and audited 20 of our journal entries that were selected at random. I have sent in our second UCOA file to RIDE for review and await their response for further adjustments. We normally get about 4 or 6 back and forths with RIDE, but I'm hoping for less this year. I continue to reconcile receivables and payables as they arise, and I'm awaiting our IBNR report that comes out this month for our health and dental. At this time, there's no material changes in our audit status or end of year budget projection.
Are we planning on finishing the budget, the audit on time? Are we on schedule for that? And you've been reconciling every month with the town?
Yes, I think we're in
And
a
what's
lot
this-
more of an organized shape than we've ever been.
Okay. And what's the total budget? 32 million, or is and it's so complex.
Yep.
And it blows my mind to think that people think we don't need somebody like you in this position. It's unbelievable.
I just have one question. Steph, we used
Doing
to,
a great job.
we used to receive, on, I think it was a monthly basis. I can't even remember, like a budget to actual. It would, and not that we go over every blip of it, but I haven't seen that in a while.
Well, because the fiscal year has just started, so it's kind of basically, and we had very little activity over the summer. So you're
Okay.
gonna start seeing the first quarter.
Okay,
But I didn't really talk about it. It was more of like a.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of activity.
okay, gotcha.
But I'll have one for you next.
Yeah, I don't want you, it's something that's already, you have.
Well, you're
you
gonna have
just-
the first
yeah.
quarter. You'll have the first.
And you'll go over if there's
Yes,
any
well,
nuggets
yeah.
or whatnot. Okay.
Yes. She runs it every month, but the first quarter will be September 30, ending September
Right.
30th, so it's
Correct.
perfect. for the
Gotcha.
Next meeting.
Perfect.
Any questions for our Director of Finance? Okay. I'd like to call up our Director of Curriculum to talk about our summer programs and our new grants.
Don't you usually bring chocolate when you come here?
I was gonna.
I'm just kidding.
There's
I like teasing Ozzy.
Chris. Oh, now it is. Yes. Hello. Hi. So, I haven't seen you in a while. So, hi. I miss all of you. I have a little bit of a limp, and there we go. Now we're gonna break my hand too. No, I'm good with this. Thank you. And I hate having my back to you, so I apologize. So a quick update on what happened this summer. We made some changes based on a lot of the data work that we had done the last year. And I really just wanted to celebrate a couple of successes that we had, especially with our elementary program. And then we were able to secure a couple of new grants, so I'm going to quickly talk about those. So this part is the summer programming. The text is very small here, so if if you go forward, then I can talk about the next one. I'm going to talk about the elementary. The biggest change for us this year was that we ran whole day camps, and that was one of the biggest feedback we had from the community and the school committee. So instead of having it 3 hours a day, we started at 8 and we went to 8:30 to 4. And we had 2 separate camps, 1 week long each. We let the parents know in April, and we had open enrollment this time. So based on the fact that it was open to all students, we had 79 participants. I'll go through that so you'll see the before and after. I'm very proud of what we got accomplished. Because of the big numbers, we had to staff the camp a little bit differently and a lot more than last year. This year we had one of the Learn 365 grants in the amount of 50,000, which allowed us to do a lot of after school and before school and summer programming. So with the help of those funds, we were able to do some yoga, which was very, very, very popular, and also some art. We had, go to the next slides, please, Chris. I want to show the pictures and the numbers. Okay. So in 2023, we had 39 students who had attended. This year, we had 79. The number of attendance is there. But really, I wanted to show the increase in the attendance from last year. It was 101% more increase, and then 86% increase in the number of hours engaged in this year rather than last year in the number of hours that the students participated. And I said engaged because a lot of it was not specifically academics, but we had a whole amazing array of different activities that were all kind of STEAM based. And if you show us the next slide, we did a survey, a pre and a post survey. It was 5 days of camp in each of them, but about 64 of the kids actually repeated both camps. So this is a really good representation of where they were the first day and the last day, and the questions on how they felt about camp. So we thought this was a good way of showing that they would recommend a friend to go, and also that they were excited about it. And that was one of our biggest goals.
Looks like you got some growth.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And the children that were invited to come to the camp, those were the ones that had those learning gaps?
No, for elementary, we had it an open enrollment.
Did
Yes,
everyone?
yes, yes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, this is, it's great. Your mic's not on. I'm coming from both. It's like stereo, you and him at the same time. It's amazing to see the differences in building on what we learned from in the past camps. Longer days, less weeks, right? I know.
And much more advanced notice, which was
Yeah. No,
one of the biggest feedback we got from the parents that sat here.
was there any way for you to track, and again, just kids learning is fabulous. I don't want to discredit from that. Was there any way for you to track the kids who really needed to be there? As opposed to, again, I'm happy all children learned. I don't want to, but before, when it was by invite only, obviously there were certain specifications that needed to be met. Do we know which percentage of those kids actually came to the camp?
I will look into
How
this.
do you-
I absolutely know. I just have to do my first universal screener to determine if number one, they needed it. Number two, whether it helped them to be there.
Yeah.
So let me just have one more data point and I will look into that.
That we have kids there learning, these kids are growing, whether,
Yeah.
I just wondering if we're hitting that demographic of the kids that really need it.
Yep, I'm gonna get back to you because to me that's really important to see actually if it helps them throughout the year too. Next one, please. I wanted to include these are direct quotes. From the top row are from our students and the bottom row is from one of our parents. And I really thought that it was telling us something nice about our programming this year. So if you want to take a second to read especially the kids and the parents.
I really think.
Sounds as though Glory was a hit.
Oh, yes, she was.
So if anyone can't see it, I read them earlier. So basically Glory, rock painting, nature walks, slime.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we had, which if you go one more, if we're good with this. I wanted to talk about the cost because that's kind of what we wanted to see if we're actually spending money that is no longer going to be with us. This is the last year of ESSER 3. Hopefully we will be able to secure more funding like Learn 365. My last slide tells you that we did get another round of it for $40,000. So we're excited to secure it at least for next summer. The cost was about $8,000 more than last year, just to the SSD, but we served double the kids.
And you were able to relieve the parents of daycare.
100, yes, yes.
That was the key, that we
Yeah.
needed to have a full day program so they would be able to, drop their child off, go to work, and then come back. It's an important decision.
So I mean, these pictures are beautiful, but I had to kind of make them a little. So no, I didn't. I want to really thank a few people here because and I have the pictures of the different activities the kids did. Of course, Gloria is right in the center, but the summer camp teachers really gave it their all. We had Kevin Eager did art with the kids. Ashley Cameron did yoga. Gloria, of course, gave a lot of hugs. We had Zen Critters also join us for a couple hours through 5 days, and they brought like petting zoo, and the kids actually read to the animals. That was a big hit.
Zen is actually, I'm not sure if you knew that she's an alumni.
Yes, she is, because I am going to actually really appreciate all the elementary principals. They were there. But the biggest star of the show is, I think, online tonight, but it's Lori Boutier, who is a 5th grade Clayville teacher, but she's also doing an internship for an admin, and she really, really selflessly gave herself for us. She left, gave herself. Yeah.
Get her back on. Follow her. I'll follow her.
It's okay. I just really, really wanted to appreciate all of her free to the school department, but for 2 weeks she was the administrator. She actually secured the Zen critters, and she did all of the data work. She did the pre and post
Students.
Yes, she was. Yes. And, community partnership, this is the way that really, really, I wanted to appreciate all of her effort, that from morning till night, every day she was there.
What do the academic pieces look like? Because it looks like you've made some progress in the math.
Yep.
The math gaps. How could you talk a little bit about what was done? I mean, the critters are great, and I love that
Yeah.
because that's what's going to keep them coming back.
Yes.
But where did we embed the instruction?
So instruction, we had a daily schedule. So the kids got 2 hours of each of the subjects. So they rotated. So I had one art teacher. They would go from grade K to 1 to 2. So when they were not in art, they were either doing reading, writing, or one of the STEAM activities. So they each got about 4 hours of either ELA or math using this during the day.
During the
Yes,
day?
it was a 6.5 hour day. So
If I can just jump on for 1 second too, my three children were fortunate enough to have Lori Boudiette as their 5th grade teacher at Clayville. And I was actually fortunate enough to spend some time in her classroom as a volunteer way back when. If there's one thing I can say about Lori Boudiette, is that those kids will learn from the minute they walk in a door till the minute they leave. And I know she wasn't actually doing the teaching or administrating, but it is amazing to see how she is able to coordinate and meet every kid where they're at, and then to get the maximum amount of learning for them. So if she was involved with this, I'm sure whatever could be done was done.
she was involved. She made phone calls to the parents that the first day the students didn't show up. We made it very personalized, and I hope that the feedback, there is some
I
feedback.
think it might be me. I
Okay.
don't know. I don't know if it's me. So please, from the bottom of
I
our
will,
heart,
and
please
I
extend her.
just wanted to
We'd love to
recognize
have
her.
Rita think of ourselves. So anytime she
Thank
wants
you.
to pop on by, but we certainly appreciate.
So
The continuity of the services that were provided to the kids and the students over the summer, and how is that being bridged into the new school year, and how are we plugging that into their current teachers or their new teachers?
great questions. I wanted to talk about the reading and the comprehension. We actually chose standards that the students are going to be getting this year. We really didn't have them for so long that I could show improvement on Ames Web. It was 5 days, and then the second week was only 4 days. But we did try to focus on standards that are upcoming. So our hope is that the first quarter or trimester for elementary is going to show some improvement, because our numbers from IXL, we use IXL for the reading comprehension. It's very standards based. So we focus on the standards that historically the kids had trouble working on. For the grades 3, 4, 5, we chose the RICAS type questions, but for grades K through no, 3, 4, because fifth grade was in the middle school. And then K1, 2, we chose standards that historically the kids show that they have deficits through Ames Web. So we are hoping that this first trimester is going to show us whether those skills exactly. And for math, the same thing. We followed the same kind of rule.
Yeah, because if we don't follow the investment and the child that's been through the process, then we don't know whether or not it
It's
was even
successful or not.
effective.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Last year we did follow the kids, and what we saw is not a lot of extra growth, but there was no going back. So no regret. Yeah. So
Ozzy, one of the things that I wanted to mention, and I know we're going to talk about some grants, and I know it's the school year, and I know that you've probably, you and the superintendent have heard it over and over again. If we're not relentless, and I mean relentless, and that's every building leader, every principal, we have to be relentless on instruction. It's so easy to gravitate towards those operational, easy tasks of running a building,
oh yeah.
but we have to be relentless on instruction and closing those learning gaps if we're going to move these kids and close the gaps that we should be performing, as you know, and how I feel, way above where we're performing. But I think we've got all the right pieces in place, the curriculum, the people, and I'm hoping, I mean, I'm probably not going to see it, obviously before December, but I'm hoping the pieces will eventually fall into place and you'll really start seeing the results of all of the dollars that we've put in place and the resources we put in place for our teachers. So I know I had to give you that lecture before the school year, which I did last year too, but I feel so strongly about it. And so
I I heard you, I swear. I said this, I said
You
last
told me
year.
today?
Yes, sir. Last year I was called a little bit of a disappointed in the summer programming. So I said, hopefully this year, at least that's not what I'm gonna hear.
So last year we were disappointed. We were not satisfied.
I hope
You-
that we
and you
made the
turned-
changes based
you-
on your feedback.
It
So
is, and
You don't need to bring chocolate this year.
chocolate is always. So that was what I really wanted to highlight. For middle school and high school, I have to say that we stayed very much similar to what we were last year. We did some, you can move to the next one. We did the same hours. For the middle school, what happened last year was that we did not, and this year we were not able to secure a special educator, and the ratio of students with the IEPs was so much for teacher of record to have be kind of effective to that classroom in that
How many
moment.
IEP students did you have?
Last year, it was more than 50% of the population.
That were enrolled in the summer program?
Yes.
How about this year?
Specifically.
This year, we broke the classes down, middle school.
Okay.
This year, we broke the classes down to 2 classrooms, so the classroom sizes were a little smaller, and we didn't get a special educator. That was our little given because of there was no support, and we couldn't get a paraprofessional either. So, what we did is kind of the same thing. If you want to look at the numbers, there were like 3 students less this year than last year. The topics learned were a little bit more. The attendance was better. If you want to go forward, the cost was a little bit less than last year because we had to spend some money on the curriculum writing last year, but we utilized the same thing, which was actually Alex platform, which is very kind of individualized to the students' needs for math, and Lexia for reading. Looking ahead, I'd like to make sure that we are able to add some incentives and do a little bit more of social emotional or replicate kind of the model that we did for the elementary school at the middle school level, just because again, the childcare and being home alone, I think that might have been a reason.
Start and finish
For the
middle school.
we did, but that's why I kind of reported on the topics, and I did the same thing last year, just because the pre and post is so different based on the kids. We just wanted to talk about how many topics
So
were.
class size is different when you're dealing with middle school students versus elementary.
What? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So middle school and high school were both invited.
Invited only based on three factors, which was RICAS, teacher recommendation, and the end of the course
So
scores.
every child that was at either the middle school or high school needed to be there for a certain reason.
Yes. And high school it was really for, if you go forward, high
Sorry,
school was
just jump
actually
in.
for credit recovery. So the students that chose not to show up, they are repeating the same course. So there was a lot more required work at the high school. High school, again, the same cost. When I reflect on this, I thought that there are a lot of kids that needed extension. So either our curriculum is kind of not achievable in the number of hours we have, or we need to have more teachers to do in more small group, just because most of them didn't finish the work on Ingenuity. So we have talked to Mr. Hassel and we are going to be reflecting, but out of these kids,
Because the middle school.
oh, you said the word disappoint again. But high school, I have to say,
Not you. It's
No, high school, you're talking more
high
specifically to,
school,
yeah.
no, but
They
that
didn't finish the.
we did look into it, and out of all of those students minus one, I think they all had extenuating circumstance, and we actually met with one of the families. We have a plan in place for them to complete the work. Mr. Hassel is very good with getting the kids what they need and when they need it to get done. So I'm sure they're going to finish 100% follow through and follow up. Yes. The cost was the same. I did for looking ahead, looking at revising the curriculum or making sure that the deadline potentially is a little bit more firm so that we know their schedules coming into school, whether they have to repeat or not. So that those are the things that we are going to be talking about with the summer school coordinator. I talked about all of this. I really want to talk about how much it means to us to have grants from outside because it allows us to be a little bit more flexible and creative and take risks. And I think the risks that we took based on the data last year really paid off for the elementary. So I'd like to kind of expand that to the middle school next year. And the community-based organization and our partnership was important, Zen Critters. And now that leads us to the Learn 365. We had 50,000 last year. We did a lot of after school work at Hope. We did a partnership with Hope Library. That was very, very popular and we had really great feedback. We're expanding it to the other elementary schools with the second round. We've already met, they have the dates. We're going to do a survey of the middle schoolers because last year we offered 2 programs for them. Not many attended. This year we're going to do it based on their interest last year and we're doing another survey to know what they want. Hope has been amazing in offering opportunities for kids that they want. So the hope of this grant is really to close learning gaps by extending the school day before and after school. We were able to do a lot of yoga, mindfulness, martial arts, origami club, read a book club in a lot of the elementary schools. And we did all of them after we surveyed the kids. So the kids told us what they wanted and therefore they were very popular and parents had good feedback. So we're going to continue most of those. Hopefully if the kids want it again, because we're done.
No, go ahead. Just, I think I remember speaking about this, like middle school and especially about like the after school programs and so many of our kids are student athletes and there's more competing. Have we ever looked at doing anything before school?
We did do before school for all of the elementaries. Middle school, unfortunately, starts already
I
pretty,
know.
you know, we did want to do before school, but then the kids would have to be at 6:30.
I know.
On the source of the funding, Learn 365 is the governor's initiative, which was stimulus money, from what I understand. Is this leftover state stimulus money, this new round? Because I can't imagine that this is gonna be available much longer because what we saw at the last legislative session was a significant budget deficit coming and looming over us because the one-time money is gone. It's gone for us, it's gone for the state. It's gone for every school district and municipality. So, it's really, I hope we can find other grants because these activities, I
They
think the
meant a lot to
governor-
our kids. Attendance got better
think
because
the
the kids
governor
wanted
had
to
the
come to
right
school for
idea,
these.
but
Yeah,
everything that I read in the budget, I think this is just leftover federal money and it's not in the core operations budget of the state education aid.
We should look for other funding.
Although it was, I mean, again, I don't know how, the governor, it was, it depends on what I get stimulus money, but this was a Dan McKee kind
Yeah.
of niche. Do you know what I
I
mean?
think
Like,
they ultimately ended up funding it not at the same level, but I do worry that the funding is extremely
go.
soft.
Yeah, it went down by 10,000 because last year we wrote it for a maximum of 50. This year was maximum of 40.
And you
So
can imagine what it went down in the larger
Yeah.
school districts like Providence and
Yeah.
other places, you know? So did they talk about it at the Superintendent's Association? Okay. You might want to just double check with them on.
And this, we're very proud of being able to get. We were able to get a grant for an instructional coach. Our data showed, and we had to choose very kind of specific for a content and a school because they were not going to give us 5 coaches. We're one of the smaller districts. So we chose Hope Elementary for an instructional coach in the content area of math. We were given the grant, so we're excited that this is going to be the purpose of this, which is going to be really, it's going to be a change in mindset and it's going to be a shift in our way of thinking about a coach because they're non-evaluative and they're just going to be teaching.
Is this, so I need to back you up because I'm confused about the instructional coaches.
Sure.
And I'm gonna need Stephanie. 2 years ago, we made a conscious decision as a committee to put an instructional math interventionist or instructional coach in the budget. We put a second coach in with stimulus money. Is this a third coach? Are we still confusing?
It is a interventionist work with kids.
this.
The
is
coach
for-
works with a teacher.
Okay, so is this the first coach that we're having?
Yes, in the entire
Yes.
district. So that's why we are going to use this as a pilot, hopefully.
Is this coach only going to be assigned to Hope Elementary?
Yes.
Math? And are
Yes.
they going to, is this coach going to be,
Working with all grade levels,
and will they be working with the interventionists as well?
100%.
It will be interesting to see.
So the grant proposal was actually given to us. I had to write this in 5 days, but you had to have at least it was 35 pages of the proposal, their job description, the scope of work. Everything was,
Because of the assessment scores, is that
the
why?
assessment scores were the lowest in math at Hope. So that's why we chose math.
But they had growth and they had
had
a
growth.
lot of
Yeah.
growth
Yeah.
in their assessment, which is very
Our hope is to
encouraging.
actually see if this works and we change the
It's
culture, then
really,
we could actually utilize the coach in different schools.
But the way, this particular grant is funded, or the way you wrote the grant, it was written for the district or it was written for Hope?
One
Elementary?
school.
So
Hope.
this particular for this year,
Yes.
while this is funded, it's specifically for math. And this coach will work with all the teachers at Hope.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question.
That was, yeah.
Yeah, it has to be math or ELA, but then we looked at our data and math needed more.
Specific, perfect.
Yeah.
But I worry, and I don't know, is there's the instructional coach, is it coming from within? Or
So
did you-
we-
because for me, the instructional coach needs to understand what? Curriculum, the curriculum that's being delivered into the classroom at each of those levels. Or techniques or understanding how they're delivering it. But if we don't have someone that doesn't understand what we're delivering.
So we have a job description.
Yep.
Sorry, we
And
have
posting.
a job description and we have a process for hiring. Ozzy's gonna follow that because we also have some contract language that we have to
Do you
follow.
have any internal candidates? Like, I mean,
I think
I'm gonna
we're
leave.
putting maybe the horse before the cart for a second. So I think like we got this grant, right? So we have to hire somebody. It's for one position. That's
For 1 year only grant
It's
funded.
one year
Yep.
only. So if I'm a teacher within the district, do I want to
they
leave?
take my point is that I would rather see if we could get a teacher from within the district to take a leave from their position potentially. Because you're not going to get somebody off the street that knows Scituate, that understands what we're delivering in those classrooms and then expect an impact. I just, it's not really.
So we are on it. I
Madam
promise
Chair,
you,
I don't
but
think you have
yeah,
anything to worry about.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think we're good. Interviews to happen soon.
Let's be quiet, which is
And
really hard for me.
That's it. I just wanted to highlight these things. If you have any questions.
Oh,
I'm
thank you,
here.
though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck this year. You got
Thanks.
your work cut out for
Thank you.
Are we gonna see PSAT scores and SAT scores? Did those come out in the spring? Or are we just gonna wait until you bring them to the school committee in October?
We're bringing them in October. I have some good news too, but they're all embargoed, so I can't really share.
Okay, thank you.
Dying to tell.
All righty, the next item on the agenda is the fire inspection reports, and I'm gonna turn that one over to our superintendent.
So you have the fire inspection reports in your packet. You will see from the North Situate report, although Mr. Petching does list two violations, they are both resolved. So although they are listed, they have both been resolved. So there is a clean report for North Situate. Clayville has no violations or deficiencies listed in that report. And Hope also no violations or deficiencies. So we have three clean fire inspection reports from Mr. Petching, and we are waiting this building. It takes him a little longer to do this.
Has it been inspected?
He does it in pieces, Colleen, so when he's done with it, he'll write the report, but he's definitely been in the building in different areas,
Well, we are
yes.
spending $1 million on
Isn't,
inspections and stuff. So
isn't it supposed to be done prior to the beginning of school is it state law or regulation? I'm not sure which.
He does it throughout the year. He's in these buildings constantly. So I don't know what the timeline is, but I do know that it has not been a full year since we got our last report.
Anybody else have any questions for the superintendent regarding the fire inspection reports? If not, we're moving on to new business. First on the agenda is the first reading of policy 8205, high school policy proficiency-based graduation requirements. I'd like to have Michael Hassel come up to talk to us a little bit about this. I'm assuming that this policy is just aligning to the new requirements that were put out by RIDE last year. And I believe, did they start in effect this year or next year? I knew we bought a year before we had to do it.
Yeah, so it's this freshman right now, starting with the class of
This
2028 and
okay.
beyond. Yep.
Okay.
So thank you, school committee. I hope you had a great summer. Thanks to the subcommittee, Colleen, Erica, and Ozzy, who helped me through this. So the state of Rhode Island and the Department of Education started to revisit graduation requirements. This all came out of a XQ grant that they had about 6 or 7 years ago, where they really looked at equity across the state. What the state had identified was that there was inconsistencies across high schools and specifically to their graduation requirements. Their ultimate goal, so the Rhode Island Department of Education and then ultimately the Board of Regents, their goal was to make it equitable for all students and give all students the option and opportunity to apply to a four-year college. So most four-year colleges, and they looked specifically at Rhode Island College and URI, require at least 2 years of a consecutive world language. And there's other requirements as well that was inconsistent across the state. So I was fortunate to have a seat at the table through the past 3 or 4 years when RIDE was really vetting this out. It was the most commented public forum in the history of the Rhode Island Department of Education. They kind of did their roadshow. Steve Osborne and Olivia Smith were the two kind of gurus who drove this through the Department of Education. Originally, they were hoping to implement these changes with the current sophomores. So they were talking about 3 years ago rolling this out with the class of 27, and a bunch of stakeholders, including principals and superintendents, advocated that it was just too soon. There were some pretty significant changes, and we wanted to make sure that we did it right. So the regs have been approved. The new graduation requirements start with the graduating class of 2028 and beyond. That's our current freshmen. The good news is we really had the framework of what this all looked like last year. Our leadership team, including Lori and Ozzy, were on the ground floor of vetting out what would this look like at Scituate High School. One of our concerns here in Scituate, just being one of the smallest high schools in the state, is that we have a lot of singleton classes, meaning there's only one section of those classes. And right now, our current schedule allows 7 courses for students to take in every year. So what I think RIDE did a great job with is you'll see just brand new graduation requirements, such as the 2 consecutive years of world language, which I'll talk through. But then you'll see other requirements such as civics, such as computer science, financial literacy. The state has identified that schools can meet this in a menu of options. So we were grateful for that flexibility, knowing that if I'm a student at Scituate High School and I'm in a CTE pathway, I might have an IEP and I'm pulled for services on a specific period. I might be a student who also plays percussion in the band. So how do you fit that all in on top of civics and computer science and financial literacy? So what we decided to do, and we worked in conjunction with John Anderson's office on this as well. This is actually a new policy. It's 8,200 versus 8,500, I believe, which is, what is that? Did I have it wrong? Thank you. So originally we were going to just blow up the policy and say that we're redoing it all, but then we stopped and realized we still have sophomores, juniors, and seniors who are still under this current policy. To phase this out wouldn't be appropriate. So we're keeping that policy as is for our sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And then starting with the class of 2028, we're rolling out this policy. So I will, just a side note, say that our team has worked on a PowerPoint presentation that once this is approved, we're ready to roll out to families and students. We've already started rolling it out. We had our 8th grade move up night last year with our CTE and 8th grade move up night. We started to talk through the changes then. We had a great freshman orientation in August. We rolled it out then. And then I'll be holding a workshop at our open house for freshman parents to go through the PowerPoint presentation. It basically takes this policy and breaks it up into, okay, I'm a freshman. What does that mean for me? What does a sample schedule look like as a sophomore? What does my math look like? So that is all, once this is approved, going to be very clear to kids and families. Carolyn.
Michael, could you talk to me about, or to the committee about what you find is the biggest challenge with the new requirements? And especially as we think about recruitment around some of these world language positions, and what would be the impact, and that's either for you or Stephanie, on this as well?
Sure. So right now with the current freshmen, we're not seeing a financial impact. And again, we've really tried to grab on, and we didn't do this of course for financial reasons. We did it to make sure that kids' schedules were appropriate and kids could fit what they wanted. Basically, so I'll give you a for instance, the 2 years of world language. Most high schools had that as a graduation requirement already. Scituate didn't. So most of our students, and I think some people are surprised by that, about 85% of our students typically go on to a 4-year college, but we still have the rest of our students that don't. They might go into the military or career or trade. So this new requirement will require all students to take 2 consecutive years of the same world language. I think a challenge of that is ensuring that we're supporting all types of learners. We had to add 1 additional section of Spanish this year because of that, but we were able to, based on other courses, balance that out. So there was no need at this point to hire new staff based on the new graduation requirements. Did you have more to that question? Because I think I only answered a part of it.
No, I think you answered the recruitment. You didn't have to hire new teachers, so it didn't have a fiscal impact. Is
Right.
that correct?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. And what are you doing for the 15% of those students that probably didn't take world language because it's not really in their wheelhouse or there's not much interest, or it's could be somewhat challenging
Sure.
to some of them.
So we're going to be spending this year working with the World Language Department on professional development and differentiating their instruction and ensuring that those all kids are supported in world language and all kids we're catching them before their fall. We also are looking at the middle school for the first time. So you'll see in this new policy that for the first time in Scituate's history, we're counting true high school courses at the middle school. So right now, those are French 1 and Spanish 1. They're aligned exactly to our high school curriculum. So students can start that work in 8th grade. If they're deciding to only pursue maybe 2 years of a consecutive world language, they would take that their 8th grade year, their 9th grade year, and then they're done.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, and one last question I have for you. Having a high school that's like a private school with such small class sizes is a double-edged sword, right? Because we have to be super strategic about what we can, to offer our children, opportunities that interest them, while at the same time making sure that it's also financially feasible. When we talk about the fine arts, or we talk about a child that can't fit something in their schedule, are you allowing them to do any type of online learning, any kind of, the credits at college? Can you talk a little bit about how we're meeting the needs of those children as well?
Sure. So being in day 4 of the high school here, we had like every single year, some schedule conflicts that students came to our amazing counseling team. We have a brand new director of school counseling, Jess Mixter. She did her internship with Dan Casey. So we're very fortunate to have Jess here as the director, and she has hit it out of the park. I kept wondering if she was going to come back every day when she was working through some of these scheduling issues, but we ensure at Scituate High School that students have every opportunity to take the graduation requirements that they need to get our diploma. There are some cases where, and we found that this year, where again, those singletons, so if I'm in all honors classes, typically we only run one section. There's going to be one section of honors 10. And if that honors 10 is matched up with the second biomedical course, that's a big problem. So we started to see a little bit of those structural issues this year. If we truly vet out every option and it's not the student's fault, we will never punish that student. We've started to explore things like the all course network. We'll always partner with the department chair first and say, do you have any ideas? I know there's a prerequisite for this art class. Would it be appropriate to place this student into here? So we really have taken a real individualized approach to ensure that all kids are meeting the graduation requirements that they need.
The ACN program, is there one particular college that you're working with? I know that having firsthand knowledge of the Roger Williams program, it was very weak, and I was very disappointed in it while I was working there. But they've opened that up to a lot of different schools, Salve, all of our state colleges. Is there one that our students, or that we try to point to, that you feel you've been impressed with?
So URI has done a really great job with the computer science courses through the ACN. A lot of our students have taken a lot of enrichment courses that will be on their transcript, especially over the summertime. CCRI offers a lot of world language courses. They offer American Sign Language. Yeah. So the ACN has been a valuable tool to use, again, when those students are in a situation where there's, it's not their fault and there's nothing else that they can do about it.
Just to reiterate, I think what you said, Mike, is we call these our small district pains, right?
Yep.
Like, we would love to be able to run 2 classes of 10, but it's not feasible,
Yeah,
right? So
sure.
we have to, there's difficult decisions that have been made right along.
Exactly.
And just to be able to maneuver. And you said there is some wiggle room within the guidelines.
Yeah, so if
Yeah.
it's okay with all you, I'll go through each one. So English is exactly the same from the previous policy. Math, we used to just say it's for, not just, but we said that students had to complete 4 years of mathematics. The state is now specifically calling out the freshmen need to take Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and then a 4th math. And that math is very specific on a RIDE list of saying this is what we count as a 4th math.
Started to change our math requirements prior to, we got rid of like a lot of the remedial classes.
Exactly,
right?
yep.
So
Yep. And I will say what kind of a proud moment for us is we're doing this anyway. And I know Mrs. Daly's in the room, who's the math department chair. Most of our, if not all, actually all of our students would take up to Algebra 2. And then once they get to Algebra 2, that's where, there was a little bit of, wiggle room there. But all of our students always took Algebra 1 geometry and Algebra 2. Now it's a state requirement and it'll be specifically called out in the grad requirements as well. Social studies, students are still required to take 3. We're embedding the civics component. So the new regulations specifically say that students have to be proficient in civics, whereas world language, it's 2 consecutive years in a course. Civics is proficiency in civics. So our social studies department has been working for about 2 years, ensuring that our U.S. History 1 course aligns to those civic proficiencies. And they're actually going to a state conference on September 16th with a bunch of other civics teachers to see what else we can do to align that. But we feel pretty confident that we're covered there. Physical education has not changed. Our fine and performing arts, we are reducing from 1 credit to 0.5 credits. And the reason why we're doing this is because we are starting to explore, you'll see with computer science, a lot more semester options for students. And we're looking at a lot additional semester fine arts requirements. Why I feel comfortable about this as a former music teacher is because those students who are in concert band or advanced portfolio, they're still going to take our year-long 1 credit course. But we're saying that at the very minimum, you have to have a 0.5 course. So there might be that student who's an engineering kid here for the program, doesn't have a lot of wiggle room in their schedule. Now they can take that 0.5 fine art credit versus having to worry about a year long. And maybe they can partner that with a half year of computer science if they need that as well. So that's the fine art change. 2 credits of electives, which gets us up to the grand total that we need. And then science is another one of those that there's a menu of options. So we've worked with, and Ozzy was a huge help with this, looking at the computer science for Rhode Island folks through the state and also through URI. And because we use Project Lead the Way, Gateway, Unified middle school programs, students will leave 8th grade here at Scituate Middle School being proficient in computer science. And then we have a plan for those students who maybe didn't attend Scituate Middle School. I know this is only the first reading, so something that just came up today, Mr. McCarthy's our engineering teacher. We're starting to actually look at the high school Project Lead the Way courses like drones, digital electronics, who have a very heavy computer science component to it. And we're starting to reach out to the state and say, would this count? So we're really trying to, with these proficiency items, trying to scoop up as many menu of options as possible so kids can.
of what's already existing.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So that's computer science. And then financial literacy. Students can either do this through a successful completion of one of our entrepreneurship CTE courses, which we have 3 of them, successful completion of math of finance, or a senior project that's aligned to business and finance. And if they still haven't done all that, their senior year, they will be in math and ELA lab, and we're going to be using EverFi, which we use in our math of finance, and they'll complete certain modules to show proficiency on that before they graduate.
So without having, I'm just thinking of a particular student that's not in the entrepreneurship pathway, and is a high achiever in a lot of different things and taking all sorts of advanced math classes. They necessarily may not have, there's a way for them to achieve this without taking a year-long math and
Exactly.
finance
Yep.
class.
Yes.
I agree that it needs to be part of it. I
Sure.
think it's fabulous, but to have a student go to math and finance for an entire year, it would be
Yeah.
a lot if they had the base knowledge.
Absolutely. We're also looking at opportunities. I know we brought win periods, which is what I need to the school. We're looking at opportunities to, if there is a nationally vetted program that would fit into something like that, students have it once a week. Can we roll it out in there as well? But we still have time for that. Right now, I think this is a solid plan, but it also gives, this policy would give us the wiggle room to roll out other opportunities should they come to us.
A partnership with our, I'm going to say, think I'm going to get this right, CBO, a community-based organization.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that.
So I know that this is for 2028, but I'm sure that other students in other grades, they could hop on to any of the financial literacies or anything like that as well? Is that open to
Yeah,
other
we're
students?
currently offering all this right now.
Okay.
And actually, the financial literacy piece was in place with the last year's seniors.
Sure.
Yep. So we've
Um,
already rolled that out.
I think it was challenging. I'm glad they waited a year. I know that I also saw as part of this requirement is the requirement to take the state assessment. Is that new that you have to take the state assessment in order to graduate?
I believe that was language in our policy. If that's new, that wasn't in the old one. It's not new, right? So we've always required them to participate.
Did we enforce that? Because I know that there was a time where we had students that weren't presenting, and it's not good for the school system if they don't sit for the test.
Yeah.
Is that something that, how did you manage that?
So
before?
I think those were the park days. Once park went
Yes.
away, I think Scituate had a
Absolutely.
22% participation rate.
Mhm.
And then and that was before me.
But
When they
it's
switched,
100%?
yes, when we switched the PSATs, SATs, we typically get 99% or 100%.
Okay, that's great.
And those tests are administered right during the school day, right
Yep.
during, it's not like you're going somewhere now and
I
Yes,
think that was the best thing they could have done is align the state assessment to the PSAT and the
I agree.
SAT, you know, so.
so those are all the big changes. Again, there's a more user-friendly presentation once this is all approved.
Let's
Each,
talk a little bit about the special education students.
Sure.
And what does this change have in store for them, if anything?
yeah, so there's a couple more aside from this policy, steps that we all need to take together. One of them is that the regulations say that we need to have a work-based learning policy. So that's something that we'll bring to the subcommittee this year as well, and vetting that out and giving credit to students who participate in work-based learning. So that's a great opportunity for us. They also identify a readiness pathway. So there's a option for a family to document through the ILP, which all students have an ILP from grade 6 through 12. Let's say that they're not going to go to a four-year college, and their options have been clearly explained. There could be a process where a student opts out of 2 years of world language. I didn't feel comfortable bringing that to the policy committee yet because that's a pretty, yeah, exactly. Right. So
Okay.
I think that eventually we'll explore that and see what that might look like for Scituate, but I feel like this is a very obtainable goal for all students at Scituate High School.
That's great. Hope you keep it there.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for our high school principal?
so not a lot of changes really,
No,
right? Like you guys are pretty much moving in,
Yeah.
right?
Some schools it will be big.
some schools it will be, some of the urban schools in the bigger districts it'll be a heavy lift for them for sure. But for us, I think it'll be an easy lift.
I know that we've already been through public comment, but we do allow people to come up and to talk about specific specific agenda items. So I know Brendan, you came up and sat down and wanted to have, so Mike, if you could just stay there.
So I had a question. Mike actually covered most of it already, but my concern now I know it can't change, but I just wanted to bring it up because one of the things I saw is with requiring 2 years of foreign language, it appears that students who are in a special education and have a special education class won't be able to be in slash complete a CTE pathway because there's not enough room in their schedule, as well as that if you're in special ed and have to take foreign language, or you won't be able to take a class such as band or chorus or woodshop until your junior or senior year. Yeah, so that
And that's all.
just it sounded very like because like as me someone who was in special ed, I didn't take a foreign language class, so I could take a CTE pathway. And I'm just very, especially since a lot of the special ed students are the ones who then like go on to a trade or other ways besides college, where a CTE or like a class like woodshop art would actually be a much more beneficial to them than a foreign language.
Thanks, Brandon. That's a good point. So, the what Brendan's referring to is there's some students who have an IEP and it specifically states how much service time that they're going to have. So we do have some students who might have it scheduled as an actual period. So those 7 blocks I was talking about. We've really
Describe service time.
meaning that they're scheduled, let's say it's period 3, and they're with a special educator working on those specific goals.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, could be their writing goal or their reading goal or their math goal. We have really utilized the WIN block. We've utilized periods 8 and 9.
What's the WIN block? You said it twice now. I didn't ask them.
What I need.
Okay.
I think Maura was in one last year. No, she probably wasn't. So it depends on the IEP, but we've also started kind of a new model where we're looking at service time with co-taught classes as well. So student has an IEP, we're obligated to meet those goals in writing, reading, and math. We can do that in a variety of ways. And should it, we will never have a student who we say, sorry for you, you can't be in this career and tech program because you have an IEP. We actually have a lot of students who are in our CTE programs with an IEP. And again, it's one of those things where because we're a small school, we sit around the table with parents, we have IEP review meetings, and we come up with great plans. We just brought up American Sign Language in a meeting the other day outside of Scituate, which might be an option for that student. So we'll continue to think creatively to ensure that all kids have the same opportunities.
Wasn't there like a Project Lead the Way program that was designed after consolidating all the data of students? Like who are these students that aren't going to college that have IEPs? How are we addressing them? And didn't you design a Project Lead the Way program or something to that effect? I may not be using the right words, but I remember Shannon Donovan doing a deep data dive with you guys one summer and really focused on those students and came up with a program for them.
We don't
Program
have
may not be the right word.
We don't have a program. Rachel Roberge was just in year 2 through a RIDE grant, and she was trained specifically as a CTE teacher to support students with disabilities. So this is her 2nd year, and then we just brought one of our special educators into that training as well. So we're hoping to spread that throughout the other CTE pathways.
Remember being addressed.
Yep.
Okay, so if there's no other questions, do I have a motion?
Thank you.
To approve? Don't go far, stay right there. Do I have a motion to approve first reading of policy 8205, high school proficiency-based graduation requirements for the class of 2008 and beyond?
So moved.
So all those in favor? Aye, thank you. Michael, the reason why you're still here is the last item on our agenda is the high school handbook and the student code of conduct. So if you like to take that away, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. I'll be quick, I promise. So we've done a lot of work on this handbook. When I took over 8 years ago, it was a 90-page hard copy document. So we've really come a long way. We went digital right before the pandemic, and every year we seem to make tweaks and changes. This handbook has been vetted through for instance, the dress code portion has been vetted through the Rhode Island ACLU. So we've really spent a lot of time and attention on this handbook. This year, what you're seeing are minor tweaks, and then there's one major component. So Ozzy has reached out to our Dean of Students, Mr. Soprano, and we looked at surrounding districts of a behavior code of conduct. What we heard from teachers, students, and families is that this handbook kind of lacked if you do this, you get this, meaning, if you skip school, what do you get? And it kind of put everything on either the administration or the dean, and it could be subjective. So we're really excited that Mr. Soprano worked through the summer to look at model ladders of infraction and look at behavior codes. And what we realized is that there was a lot of overlap here. So what you'll see in this proposed handbook is a lot of crossouts. So if there was a section that referred to if a student is vaping in a bathroom, or if a student decides to be late to school 10 times, it's all now very clear, I think, to kids and families, to students, families, and teachers. So again, very minor edits, a lot of crossouts, and then Chris, if you actually pull up the code of the behavior code, which is in the packet, there's a lot of definitions in here, and our philosophy around behavior. And really, we're looking at a model which we've had for the past at least 5 years here, a restorative approach. So when we're disciplining students, it's always conversations, it's always supportive, and there's always a restorative component to that as well. So Chris, if you just go down to the table, that's probably the biggest change here. So you'll see, and then the hope will be to replace all those crossouts in the student handbook with this actual language here. So it has tardy to school. There's the policy linked directly to it. 1 times, 2 to 5 times, 5 plus times,
I
right?
thought that was great.
And I thank you to Ozzy for bringing it to us, and thank you to Mr. Soprano, who really did all the work on this and then brought it to me, and then we spent
So
about a day
clear.
kind of,
Yeah.
continuing to clean it up. Yep. So truancy, tardy to school, dress code violations, most of this aligned with our handbook anyway, but again, it wasn't very clear on, if this many times, this is what will most likely happen. And then one part that's it's still pending. So we've been working with Patty Sweet, who oversees the Rhode Island, Erica. Thank you.
Like Tri-County,
Coalition,
let's go
I
with
think.
that. Drug prevention.
And they oversee our student assistance counselor, Abby Correa. Patty reached out to me this summer and said, I can get you free vape detectors for your bathrooms. So they're purchased. We're ready to roll. The only caveat was we had to align either our policy or our student handbook to best practice restorative components. So you'll see when we specifically look at the use of smoking and vaping, at each bottom of each one has the student substance abuse counselor, this assistance counselor, and having mandatory sessions with that counselor, which I think is great. So I'll stop there. Are there any questions around the handbook in general, or this new ladder of infraction and the behavior code that we're hoping to embed into the new handbook?
Love that.
Mike, I just saw, there was one thing I saw, and I can't find it right now, and I may not be remembering correctly, but it was about to do with the National Honor Society. And there was something that was crossed out, like
Yeah.
saying the students would be notified if they were eligible.
So what I'm realizing is that in my 8 years here, I have way too many things in too many places. So we've decided, because there's a National Honor Society Scituate chapter handbook, and that's linked in the student handbook. It's linked on our website. That is now the go-to any information you need about that. What we were finding is that if the National Honor Society Scituate Committee changed language in there, it wasn't necessarily being communicated in here, and there was a potential for wrong information. So with that crossed out, now there's just simply, you click on that link and it brings you all things that you need to know there.
Question. I think my question was whether it's in this or not, which that makes a lot of sense. The students would still be notified.
Absolutely.
Because one of the things I found is that I always look at our honor roll and we rank really high. Was somewhat disappointed in the number of kids that were part of the national lot. I don't want to say disappointed. I think we could have done better. So my concern, and you can't make them do it.
Sure,
That's not. So I just wanted to make sure that the notification piece was still there.
Sure.
Whether they choose to proceed with it or not, that's on them.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
That's a great point. And yes, that I'll ensure that language is, if I'm removing it here, that it's in the handbook.
And my other concern is that's how we've always done it. So people like, and if we were going to change it, we'd have to have a big piece around it. So
Sure.
I'd like to see a kid.
Isn't it typically driven by guidance? Like they try to support?
No, Maggie Stormont's our NHS advisor.
It's for Michael.
Is cell phones? I know there's policy in regards to cell phones. However, how do the teachers feel? I see kind of building around the state and around the country where they're taking the cell phones or they can't have the cell phones on them in school. How is it with the teachers and the students? I know when I was there, it was an issue.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been watching carefully around the state and the country, and we'll probably put a committee together with some parents, kids, and teachers and start making decisions on where do we want to go. Right now we're in the honeymoon stage. I think last year was a good year as well at the high school. We ultimately give autonomy to the classroom teacher and support what they want to do. So a lot of teachers have phone trees. When you come into this class, you know it's a lab science class and it's not safe to have a cell phone. You know that the expectation is to put it in the phone tree, and as administration or the dean of students, we support that with that teacher. It leaves the other side of that is inconsistency, and students should have clear expectations across the board. And it's really teacher to teacher right now. So it's a good point, Kevin. I think we need to get a committee together and decide, like, you know, what are we going to do?
Last thing, Mike, again, you've done a lot of work on this over the years and it's really come a long way from where it started. I just wanted to draw the committee's attention to, I believe, what is page maybe 36.
Is this a picture of you? I thought it was the basketball one.
I just wanted to show Mr. Hassel, actually, there's a picture of my daughter who just moved to Tampa, so I got to see her. And if you look closely in the background is my son who graduated in, I don't think this was purposeful. If you could just get a picture of my Marine in there, maybe a little plaque on the wall for next year's. Just teasing.
So Aiden's in the back there, Maura's in the middle, and then
I'm like, what-
Aiden's on our CTE poster in the back.
that one's might be getting a little outdated, but
Aiden's staying there forever.
thank you for all you do, Mr. Hassel.
Thank you
Michael,
all.
and good luck in the school year.
Thank you.
Wish you
Appreciate it.
best of
It's
luck.
going to be a great year. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, no,
We
we
gotta
got
make a motion to,
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. I'd like to do I have a motion to approve the high school handbook
in the student code of
and
conduct.
the student code of conduct?
so moved. Oh,
Second,
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Now do I have a motion to adjourn?
make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Second.
Second?
Yeah.
All those in favor? Aye.